Hi friends, I am Shiva. In this session, we will learn user-defined exceptions. In my previous class, we already learned exception propagation, but in this session, we will learn user-defined exceptions. So now, in this session, what is the user-defined exception? Where we should use the user-defined exception? What is the use of the user-defined exceptions? We will learn these things in this session. Now see, what is the user defined exception? The user defined exception is for using to create our own exception, and as per the client business rules, if we want to necessary to create our own exception, that's exceptions we are creating for going to create a user defined exceptions. So it is called user defined exceptions. See, if we want to handle the user defined exceptions, we should follow these three steps for creating a user defined exceptions. So see here, handling user defined exceptions in Oracle. These are the three steps: step 1, step 2 and step 3. Step 1, we have to create our own exception in the declaration of the PLSQL block. Step 2, raise the whatever the created the exceptions that declare the exception in the declaration of the PLSQL block, that declare the exception I want to raise. If you want to raise, go to the step 2, this raise the exception in the executable section of the PLSQL block. We raise the exception in the executable section of the PLSQL block, but if you want to handle the exception, so go to the third step. In this step, we are handle the exception in the exception section of the PLSQL block. Okay, so now see how we can create the exceptions, how we can declare the exception, how we can raise the exception, how we can handle the exceptions. We will learn as the syntax. As per the syntax, we will implement in the program. Correct? Now see, this is the step 1. In the step 1, declare. So if you want to declare the exceptions, we have to follow this syntax: user defined an exception, user defined an exception. What is the user defined name? The name you have to mention, then exception followed by exception. So you have to know some clarity to getting how to create a exception. For that, you have to follow this example. In this example, this is a user defined exception, name A, this is exception. Okay, so these things we can declare section of the PLSQL block, declare section of the PLSQL block. Okay, this is called step 1, declare the exceptions. Let's we go to the step 2, how we can raise the exception. Okay, now see, step 2, raise the exception. This we can raise the exception in the executable section of the PLSQL block. How we can raise the exception? We have to follow this syntax. So raise user defined exception name. In the previously in the step 1, what we declare the exception name, the same name you have to use here. as a practically, as an example you have to understand here. This is an example. This is the raise, and what you are declare in the declare section of the PLSQL block of the exception, the same name you have to use here. That is a A. Okay. So now I want to handle the exception. So if you want to handle the exception, then we can go for the step 3. So in the step 3 we are handle the exception. If you want to handle this exception, we can go for the exception block of the PLSQL. So how we can handle the exception in the exception session of the PLSQL block? Then go to this syntax. When exception name, whatever the declare in the declare section of the PLSQL block of the exception, the same name you have to use here. Okay, that is a user defined exception. Now exception name, then statement. So now when user defined exception name 2, then statement. So how many exceptions you want to use, those many exceptions you have to handle. So this is other than this statement. This is a handle the exception in the exception section of the PLSQL block. So see, so we can implement in the program, how we can use those 3 steps, how we can implement in the PLSQL programs. Now see, this is the 3 steps, step 1, step 2 and step 3, and I implemented in the program. So example you have to observe in the declare session. In the declare session I declare the exception variable. This is a this is a exception. This exception I declare as per this syntax, step 1 syntax. Okay, this one is user defined name. This is a is a user defined name. This is an exception, whatever the exception I use the same exceptions. Okay, now so these exceptions, this step we have to declare in the declare section of the PLSQL block. So that as per that one I declare this exception, a exception I declare in the declare section of the PLSQL block. This is called PLSQL block. Okay, whatever the declare session, this is called PLSQL block. Okay, now step 2, I want to raise the exceptions. So for that we have to go to this syntax. Step 2, I want to raise the exception. Syntax raise user defined exception name. Okay, now raise, okay, exception name. This exception name we already declare in the declare section of the PLSQL block. So this here same name a, here also a name you have to use. Now see, in the begin statement, if 2 underscore char sys date comma day equal to Friday, then this exception should raise. This exception should raise a. So this exception we raised in the executable section of the PLSQL block. This is called executable section of the PLSQL block. Okay, this is called executable section of the PLSQL block. In this block only we have to raise the exception. So we raise the exception a. Say we already declared. So this condition, if 2 char underscore 2 char sys day equal Friday, today is the Friday, then this exception will be raised. This exception will be raised. Today is not a Friday, the sys day, the present day is not a Friday, this exception will not raise. The remaining program also not execute. This remaining program also not execute. Then this statement onwards only program will be terminated. Okay, now see, other thing is step 3. I want to raise this A. Today is, for example, today is the Friday. Now raise A. For handling this exception, for handling in this exception, go to the exception block. So this is called exception block. This is called exception block. Whatever the raising the exception, that exception will be handled in the exception block in the PLSQL program. This is called exception block. Okay, now handling here. When raise A, then go to the exception block. In the exception block, when A, here same name you have to use. When A, then by using this statement dbnbase underscore output dot put underscore line, by using this statement, I am, instead of this error message, I want to display the some plain text message. My exception raised on Friday. My exception raised on Friday. This message should display on the PLSQL environment. Okay, for that I given this plain text message. So how we can implement this exception? How we can implement this exception? So as per this syntax, now see, when here when you a, this is a user defined exception name. In the declare, whatever declare the exception same name you have to use. So that is called user defined exception name. Then and statement, this is called statement. Okay, so by using these three steps, we implemented in the PLSQL programs. How we can handle the user defined exceptions in the PLSQL programs. Okay, now see. So now here declare some exceptions. So now here checking some, here used some if condition. In the if condition, if underscore char, the sys day in the sense present day, the day equal to Friday. Today is the Friday. Then this raise the exception. Now today is a Friday. Now go to this exception block. In the exception session, now checking when equal to A, whatever the name you used, the same name you have to use. Then go to this statement, then display this plain text message. For example, today is not a Friday, so this plain text message is not display, and even though the program will be terminated by this statement only, till this statement, remaining program will not execute. Okay, we'll see as a practically. So whether it will be getting or not this plain text message. So actually today is a Friday, correct? Actually today is a Friday. So we'll see whether it will be, this plain text message will be getting or not. You will see. See, now see, my exception raised on Friday. Okay, now see, so if took underscores is date equal to Friday, today Friday, then raise A. Now go to in this exception session, now displaying this plain text message. For example, I'm modifying here Monday. Today is not a Monday, but today is a Monday. For example, if Monday, then raise this one. For example, today is not a Monday, so remaining program till this program onwards not execute. It will terminate, but simply will getting the message your program will be executed. Now see, so your PLSQL program will be executed because remaining program is not executed. So remaining part are terminated. For example, today is not a Monday. today is a Monday, remaining program also executed. So as per this program. For example, today is a Friday, remaining parts also go to and executing the remaining program. Okay, so this is some small example to understand how we can implement these 3 steps, user defined steps, then how we can implement in the PLSQL programs. Now, now see another example. So now see in the declare session, I declare the A and exception. Exception I declare in the declare session of the PLSQL block. Now I begin if 2 underscore chars day Monday. Okay, today is a Monday. Then raise this statement. Then raise the exception. Okay. Now dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. Control does not goes to next line. Okay. Now here today is a Monday, then go to this exception part. In the exception part, when equal to A, then this plain text message should display on the PLSQL environment. Okay, my exception raised on Friday. Okay, today is not a Monday, so remaining program from this onwards will not execute the program. Okay, so as per this one, program will not execute. Okay, today is actually Friday. Today is actually Friday, but I mentioned here Monday. So if you want to know for that, the cursor will be going to next line or not. Okay, the next line or not, for knowing purpose only this example. So this condition is true, go to the next remaining program and execute. This condition is false, remaining program also not going to next line and execute, did not execute. So next line onwards not execute the program. Okay, the same program, copy this one, go to our tool. Now see, program will be executed, but today is actually Friday, but I mentioned in Monday, so that this program remaining part onwards not execute that program. Okay, you are seen as a real time. For example, today is a Friday. Here you have to observe in this program. Today is Friday. The if 2 underscore chars is day equal to Friday. Then today is the Friday. Go to this statement. Execute this plain text. Execute this statement. The statement is, in the statement we have to display this plain text message. That is, my exception raised on Friday. My exception raised on Friday. This is condition is once it is true. Okay. So now the cursor moving to next line. The another statement also I given here. That is dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. In that next the control will be go to next line. Okay. This condition is true. Go to remaining program and executing the lines. Okay. Here also did not go to the next line. Only terminated the program. Remaining program also terminated. Here condition is true, remaining program also executed. Okay, now see the same program, I am copy this one. Now see here, my exception raised on Friday. So today is a Friday, so that this plain text message is will displayed. Okay, so now control goes to go to the next line, and now control go to the next line message also displayed. Executed this statement, and this plain text message also displayed on the our environment. Okay, now you are seen as a practically. Okay, now so now see here, exception propagation by using the user defined exception. How we can use the exception propagation in the user defined exceptions, we will learn in this session. So now the exception the exception raised on executable session. So this is called, from this onwards, this is called executable session. This part is called executable session. This part is called declare session. This part is called exception session and the PLSQL program. So now see, so you have to observe in this exception raised on the executable session. We have here two methods. First one is handled by using the inner block. So we have to only, this is called inner block. This is called inner block. Okay. Now here I declare the exception here. In the exception I raise the exception in the executable session. This is called executable session. Correct. So I raise the exception in executable session. So that is raise A. Then what is happen? Go to the exception session. Now when exception is A, so already declared here A. Correct. Here raise A. So when exception A, then this plain text message should display by using this statement dbms underscore output dot put underscore line. The moment we should display this plain text message. So handle by using inner block. This is called, from this one onwards, this is called inner block. Okay. So what is the main intention is, when these errors will be raising in the executable session of the PLSQL block, we can also handle this exception using the inner block. Okay, the same program, I am copy this one, go to our tool and paste here. Now see here, exceptions are handled by using inner block. Okay, now declare a exception begin. So as per this one, so I will display it. Okay, so the second method is handle by using the outer block. Here using inner block. Handle by using inner block. Okay, here using outer block. Okay. Now see, you have to observe in this. In the declare session, I declare the exception. In the exception, I use two begins, begin and begin. So you have to observe, this is called inner block. This is called inner block. So this is called outer block. So begin above begin is called outer block. Okay, begin above begin is called outer block. So this is first, when you are try to writing this program and try to executing, then what will happen internally? Go to the inner block first, execute the inner block, then go to the outer block. Because I used the another begin above begin. I used another begin, so that this is called outer block. Okay, for handling in this. Okay, now here declare the exception. I used begin and begin. Begin above begin is called outer block. Now first execute the inner block. So this is called inner block. Okay, now in the inner block I raise the exception in the executable session of the PLSQL block. Okay, now I raise the exception. Now raise A. Then this inner block is over. In the inner block raise the exception. Now go to the outer block. So in the outer block I use the exception when A, already here used A. So when A, then go to this statement. By using this statement, displaying this plain text message. Handle by using the outer block. This message how will be getting? By using the outer block. Begin above begin. Okay, so this is called second method. Okay, the same program copy executing in this. Now handled by using outer block. So we can raise the exception in executable section, that is possible for handling those exception when it will be raising in the executable section of the PLSQL block, that is handled by either in inner block or outer block. That is also possible to doing. Okay. Now see. Now see, the two example is over, method 1 and method 2. So you already know method how can handle inner block and outer block. So now next one is exception raised on exception session. In the previous example, exception raised on the executable session, but now this exception will be raised on the exception session. So you have to observe in this example. In the declare session, I declare the exception. Here also exception A1 and exception A2 exception. I declare two exception in the declare session of the PLSQL block. This is called PLSQL block. Now in the begin session, I raise the exception. In the begin session, I raise the exception. Raise A, then what will happen? Go to in this exception part. Go to in this exception part. When exception is A, then this statement will be executing. A1 handle. Now here again in the exception session, I am raising another exception, A2 exception I am raising in the exception session of the PLSQL block. So this exception will be handled or not? This exception will be handled or not in the real time, you have to see. The same program copy. Okay, now see, here declare A1 handled. A1 handled, the message we got, A1 handled. But I used raise A2, but remaining part will be getting some errors. Okay, unable to unhandle user defined exception. Okay, so instead of this one, for overcoming in this problem, we have to use the outer block. So whatever the exception will be raising on the declare session and exception sessions. An exception session, whatever the errors will be occurred in executable in declare session of the PLSQL block and exception session of the PLSQL block. In these two sessions, when we will be raising the exception, we must go to the outer block only. Then only we can handle the exceptions, or else we cannot able to handle those exceptions. Okay, now see how we can handle those exceptions. By using the outer block, you will see as a real time. So for the solution, for that above solution, for this one we are given, you are already seen, but for overcoming this problem, this is the solution for that. Now see, in the declare session, I declare two exceptions, A1 exception and A2 exception. In the exception, I used begin is called outer block. Okay, here used inner block. First you are writing this program, internally what will treat? It will first go to the inner block, then execute. First go to this inner begin session. In the begin session, raise A. In the raise A, then go to this exception. When A, then go to this statement, using this statement and execute this. Execute this statement. So the moment will happen, A1 handled. The message will be getting. Again in the exception session, I am raising another exception, A2 exception I am raising here. for handling in this exception, we have to go to the outer block. If you want to go to the outer block, what you will do? You have to use the another begin statement. Where we have to use the begin statement? Begin above begin. Begin above begin. We have to use the another begin statement. We have to use. So then it will read as a, it is the outer block. First this statement will be, first this inner block will be execute. In the inner block we used this exception. In the exceptions we raise the another exception. A2 exception will be raising. For handling in this, we have to go to the outer block. So this is called outer block. In the outer block, whatever the raise the A2, for handling in that, I am using this exception. In the exception, when A2. So now see, in that exception, when raise the exception A2, when the exception is A2, then go to this exception. In the exception, when equal to A2, then dbms underscore output dot put underscore line A2 handle. So this message will be getting. Now the when I am trying to executing this program, which message you will be getting? This A2 handle, A1 handle and A2 handle message will be getting. Now see, has a real time this output will be getting or not, you will find it. The same program, copy and go to our tool and execute it. Now we will be see A1 handle and A2 handle. So this is called, this one is executed by using the inner block, this one will be executed by using the outer block. Okay, this is a user defined exception. This is called user defined exception. In the next session, we will learn how to use the unnamed exceptions. Thanks for watching my classes. If you like my classes, please subscribe my channel, share and comments on that.